Good morning, all. Myself Chandra. So, in this session, we are going to discuss about the Mulesoft real-time project employees masters requirements. So, first of all, we have to understand the systems or applications that are involved in the integration and what is the network architecture or the network model that we are going to develop and how we are going to communicate with those applications within the network architecture. And also, we have to understand what are the data models whenever we are going to send the request to the target systems or whenever we are going to expose our services to the source applications or source systems. So we have to share the data models, and also we also need to get the data models whenever we are sending the request to the target systems. And also we have to understand whether we need to develop a real-time service or a batch process service or a pub-sub model service. So based on that, we can create services which are reusable and which are more organized. And we also need to understand the integration pattern. And we also need to understand the type of integration that we are going to develop. For example, whether it is a migration, moving the data from one system to other system, or if it is a bidirectional sync. So whether we want to sync the data or fetch the data from system A to system B, and also we have a requirement to fetch the information from system B to system A. So this is called as a bidirectional sync. And sometimes we can get the data from multiple source systems and we have to aggregate the data and send it to a target system. So this will be called as a aggregation pattern. And we also need to understand the data structure format, like whether they are able to accept the JSON or XML formats, and also whether they are able to communicate the data and the structures by using a file formats, a CSV or a XLS. So these kind of things we have to understand before developing the services. And whenever we get the requirements, we need to understand what is the scope of the requirement and what we have to done within these sprint plannings and all. So there will be two things within scope and out of scope. So there might be a chance. So a piece of components we have to implement in the scope, but there is a necessity. The other systems or other applications are going to consume those services in the next sprint. So make sure that you are concentrating on the scope of the requirement and then meet the deadlines. And you need to provide the estimations whenever you see the requirement, how much time it is going to take, and what are the components that you have to build, and how many APIs that you have to build, and how many layers of APIs we have to organize. So sometimes there might be a need. We have to just fetch the information from your file system, so that you need a process API, and then you have to connect to the target system, so that it does need process API and system API. So there won't be a necessity of experience API. So these kind of informations you have to provide whenever you are going to continue with the implementations. Now we will move to the requirements. So basically this employees master is a business which will deal with the employees information, customers, projects, and also once we have these employees, we are going to assign the employees to the projects. So projects are basically defined under the customers. So we have to define all of this information. And for this, we need data models so that other applications are, for example, this employees master is a database application. So within the database, we have to define these data models, how they are going to communicate other system or applications to the database. So we need these details from the database team. And basically this application is a human resource employees master. So human resource team, they are going to create the employees data. So to create the employees data, instead of directly creating the data within the database, they need some front-end applications. So there will be front-end applications or mobile applications, and from those applications HRs are going to enter the informations related with the employees, like personal information. So this kind of information they are going to provide through the applications. And we are going to make sure that whatever the data that is being provided on the users interfaces, so those information we are going to send and sync the data to the database, employees master database. For this, we are going to create an integration APIs, and we are going to create a network of multiple layer architecture. So we will look at that architecture and network model and data model as well. So this will be our requirement. So we have a requirement to create a new employee, and also there might be a necessity we have to update the employee information, and sometimes we have to terminate the employee whenever he leaves the organization. So we have to enter the last working day, or um, we have to delete that record from the current records. And this information is needed in some data lakes or some data warehouses. So they are going to use this information for reporting purposes. So just assume that there will be two different data warehouses based on the location. So we have to publish the data from employees master database to the data warehouses as well. And the project management team is going to create these customer accounts, and they have to manage the customer projects, and also employees has to be assigned to the projects whenever they are onboarded. As we have mentioned, this project is to build microservice APIs using Mulesoft integration, and also to build schedule jobs or sync the data from master systems to data warehouses. So this is how you can enhance the services. You can introduce other applications or other databases, or maybe other front-end applications. So even though there is a scaling of applications, you can use the same services that we have already built within the MuleSoft integration. So below is the sample information that we have to create. Like for employees information, there will be a employee ID, employee details like name, first name, last name, and the date of birth when he is joined the organization. And also employees will be having the educational details, address details, and experience details. And the second one is the customers information. So customers are having a customer name, and also we have to create the customer ID to identify for each primary record. And also we have the customer address information, and to which business vertical that customer belongs to. This kind of information we are going to store within this employees master database. And the next one is the projects information. So this projects information does contains the project's name, and that project belongs to a so and so customer, and what is the type of project, whether it is a infrastructure setup or a migration or a new development project, this kind of information. And we have resources here are the employees, so we have to assign the employees to these projects, and from which date to which date. So this information we are going to provide in the resources allocations. Now we will have a look at the network model. This is going to be our network model for the MuleSoft integration. So there will be applications user 1 and user 2, and basically we are having this HBT masters database, and within this masters database we are going to create the data models for the information that we have shown, like employees, projects, customers. And based on this, we are going to create a MuleSoft integration services within the MuleSB Anypoint platform by using Anypoint Studio. And here we are going to create the layer of services, and we are separating the APIs into customers SAPI and employees API, because we are not having multiple applications here. Uh, and in real time, the actual project, there will be multiple applications. So you can always have a separate APIs based on the applications at the endpoints. And on top of the system APIs, we are going to create the process APIs for composing and orchestrating the process of the implementation. And on top of the process APIs, we are going to create the experience APIs, where we are going to actually expose these APIs to the source applications or consumers. Now we are going to have a look at the data model. So in this data model, we have a employees information. So employee information is a having employee ID first name. So this information is having a different column names, and it is having a relation from employees to the employee qualification. So one employee is having a multiple qualifications. That's why it is having one to many relationship. And one employee can have multiple experiences. So one employee is having multiple relations, one to many relationships into the employee's experience table. Likewise, we are having this one to many relationships wherever it is needed. Uh, Likewise, customers will be having addresses information, and also employees are going to have the multiple addresses information. That's why this address table is having a relationship with employee table as well as customers table. And we have the projects information. So one customer can have multiple projects, and this projects is going to have a resource allocation. So one on a single project, multiple employees can work. So as a team, so we have to enter this information within the separate table, or we have to maintain this as a separate transactions. For this, we are having the resource allocations, and here we have the project ID and who is going to work on that particular project, like employee ID. This information we are going to store within these data models by using databases. We will have a sample data that we have. So this is the customer's information. This information we will create by using the Mulesoft services. So we are not directly going to create this information within the database by using the SQL statements. Instead of that, we are going to create the Mulesoft APIs, and by using APIs, we are going to create this information into the databases. So this is a customer's information. And here we have mentioned that customer belongs to so and so business vertical. So this business vertical defines the type of business that customer is involved, like whether it might be a manufacturing company or a healthcare domain. And NBFC means non-banking financial services company, and it is a banking. And one more thing is a inventory and supply management company. This kind of business that belongs to a business vertical. And we have a address information. So within this address information, we have address type, whether the address is a residential information or a correspondence information, and other details like address line 1, line 2, and the zip is the postal code, and city and country, and also this address belongs to which employee or which customer. So this kind of information we are going to store by using the foreign key references, employee address and customer address. And there is a projects information. So since we have a customers, we have to create these projects as well. And for that purpose, we have a customer ID as a reference, and there is a project name. So there will be a project ID as a there is a project ID which is a primary key, and customer ID will become the foreign key where we have to refer the customer information and what type of project it is. So this information we are going to store within the projects table. And this is the employees information we are going to create by using APIs. Example like Bhagat Singh and also Subhash Chandra Bose. So these are the information we are going to create, and the information like where they have born, and which country, and what is the language, so the other details. So whatever the information that we wanted to store, we can always create and store by using this APIs. And employee qualification table is going to contain the information, this qualification ID, which is a primary key column, and the information. like a university qualification and from which date to which date they have been studied, and what is the employee ID this information qualification records belongs to. And there is a employee experience records. So this employee experience records is going to contain the information of sequence ID. It is a primary key column, and employee ID, to which employee ID this record belongs to. So this 9001 employee has worked in HP SmartSoft Solutions, or also 9002 has worked in India Independent Innovations Company or organization. So this kind of information we are going to provide, and we will create the information. And also we are going to extract this information, and we can provide this information to the consumer application, so that this information will be uh, appeared on the applications or the user applications, where they can see all the information, and they can always go and modify the data if there is any changes. And resource allocation is going to have the information like allocation number, which is a primary key column, and employee ID and project ID information of the foreign keys, and from date to date. This is This is the sample information that we have, and we are going to refer this at the later point of time when we implement the services, and we are going to create a system of records through Mulesoft integration APIs. And for this, we also need the table scripts to create the tables within the database and to connect from Mulesoft integration to database. We are going to use a database connector, and we will push the system of records from API. We are also going to create this get resources, for example get employees information or get customers information for the existing records, so that other applications will consume the services. Here we have scripts for employees table, customers, employee qualification, employee experience, address table, projects table, and resource allocations table. So if you have any queries, you can write to my email, and you can provide a comment. Thank you.